Hopefully you're not in the middle of class right now.
Mhm.
If you are, just unmute and let everybody else hear too, because this would be like way more important than anything they teach you at UI's Idaho, right?
That's right. Just share it with the entire world.
That's right. Okay, well, you just let us know if there's any messages we need to address. So we've got our technical gal in the background, Katie here, who's gonna let people in out of the waiting room. And if you have questions, comments, want us to slow down, speed up, just let us know. Okay, so are we ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, we'll edit out all this first part here. So this is the official start. Welcome, everybody, to the Georgic Schoolroom webinar. My name is Jared Sorensen. I'm here with
William DeMille.
and
Rebecca Celeste.
very good. William and Rebecca are the organizers of this great event, and it's an honor to have them here. So we are zooming in today from our ranch in northeastern Nevada. We're located in Clover Valley. People think of Nevada and they think of Las Vegas. We're as far from Las Vegas as you can get, pretty much, and still be in the same state, and just about as different. We still are desert, but it's high desert. The wind's blowing, there's snow on the ground today, and my wife and I own and operate a multi-generational ranch. And a few years ago, we realized that while we had a lot of things in place, we needed to be able to grow more of our own produce and things that we consume for our large family. We've got 9 children. We love ranching. We could garden, but really we kind of didn't do a very good job at it. And so if it was up to us to just rely on our own food, we probably wouldn't have a very well balanced diet. So we reached out to William, and we talked to him about coming and helping us get set up to be able to grow food year round. And we got the bonus, because here he is. Not only did he come and consult and help us build a year-round greenhouse, he also came and is running that for us. And so William, we'll start off with you, and just kind of tell us your backstory. What brought you here to this point, and specifically to the point that you are now teaching youth? And well, I say youth, I'm still a youth, so all ages of people.
Yeah, thank you, Jared. Super excited to be here to share with everybody today. I grew up in Hurricane, Utah. We had a little self-sufficient family farm. We had gardens, fields of grain, orchards, milk cows, milk goats. We would raise a pig every year. We would have plenty of chicken to eat, and we had eggs. So we grew most of our own food. Most of the food that we got from the grocery store were things like salt and pepper and stuff like that. The majority of our food, really, we grew it. We would get normal things at the grocery store too, but we grew a lot of our own stuff. And so I just grew up doing that. People always ask me, how did you learn to butcher animals? I don't know. My dad and grandpa were always doing it. And by the time I was 18, I was just good at it. It's not like I went somewhere and learned how. So that's kind of the culture of my first 18 years of life. And then after I left home, I went and worked on a lot of different farms around the country. I went on a mission for our church, and I spent some time at a few colleges. I was at Northwest Missouri for a couple of years. I did some shorter classes with different places because I valued the education and I wanted that. We went to Cornell for an important course. We went to Denver, Colorado for an important course. So I've always loved education. I didn't necessarily want to go to college and do the traditional route of college, but I've always been looking for things that I thought would actually help me in the things that I was trying to do. I actually became a medical massage therapist, and so I do that as well. I went to Elaine Ingham's soil food class that she's put on. She's probably the top soil scientist in the world as far as how soil actually works. And I got certified through her class to run a soil laboratory. So that's another thing that I do and I enjoy. And then this fall, I just finished up becoming an herbalist. I studied with Dr. Patrick Jones from Idaho. And so that was really a fun thing. I've always been interested in medicinal herbs. And so now I can officially call myself an herbalist. I've been growing herbs for decades, but that's a really fun addition to be able to do. And I'm actually further in my education now. I'm in a human nutrition class and getting a certificate in naturopathy, which is super fun. So that may take me about 2 years to finish that, but that's what I'm currently doing as far as that goes. So I got here to Nevada. You asked how I got to Nevada. That's interesting. So through all of this stuff that I just told you, I always tried to run these businesses. I had 3 or 4 businesses that I tried to do. 3 specific ones. They were all about growing food, and I kind of failed at them. And I would talk to different people, and some of my mentors said, well, college wouldn't have helped you anyway. Other people said, well, you need to take some specific classes to learn some certain things. But I really had a failure at a farm I did in Missouri, and that was a problem because I just didn't have the thing that I needed. I was growing food. I didn't have a problem growing food. I grew up doing that. I know how to do that. So I would have all this food, but I couldn't make enough money at that business model to make a living. So I was supporting my family with other jobs, working at factories and other things. I moved to Colorado at one point in this journey, and I did a similar thing. I started a community supported agriculture project, and it kind of failed because I struggled with the connection with the people. I was struggling with just things that you would do normally in business, like just having a really good connection with the customers and that kind of thing. And so it just didn't go very well. And then I was in Oregon for a period of time, and I set up a farm. It was really fun, the things we were able to do. Again, it turned into a failed business because there were skills I simply didn't have. So when I came to Nevada here with Jared here on this ranch, here's what happened. I came here to consult on building the greenhouse, and then you needed somebody to just stay here and run the greenhouse and help manage this side of the mountain, the ranch on this side. So I got to thinking, okay, well, this is employment, this is good, but I've always loved teaching gardening. And I thought, you know what? I have this history of a failure in my past of my businesses, and entrepreneurship is really important. It works really good for people who can do it. Why don't I create the class that I needed when I was in my 20s? Because I just kind of crashed and burned. And at that crash and burn, after I left Oregon, I didn't know what to do. So that's when I went to massage school and became a licensed massage therapist. And I still hold that license. So that's a good thing. I value that a lot. But I had an emotion when my businesses had died. And the emotion was I felt completely irritable all the time. I was just frustrated. I was discouraged. I was fearful. I felt unworthy to even be alive. I wasn't suicidal, but I felt unworthy to just do normal things. I felt unlovable, and I felt useless in the world that we live in. And I really felt like I was born in the wrong century because I felt like the skills and talents, the gifts, the interests that I have were something that you read about in a Louis L'Amour book.
Yeah.
It's not something that people use today. So that's where I was, and that's what brought me to Nevada.
Cool. Yeah. So we're going to close the loop on that story here in a minute, but we wanted to shift to Rebecca here and kind of get what brought you to Nevada? What's your backstory and why are you here?
Yeah, thank you. So I came out to Nevada for the Georgic Schoolroom that William teaches. And kind of what got me here is a long journey of searching for alternative higher education options,
Mhm.
when I was 18 and I was a senior in high school, I I was kind of struggling because I felt so much pressure to figure out what my life was going to be about and like what college to go to and what major to have because everyone was asking and I was totally stressed out because I didn't know and I felt like because everyone was asking me that I needed to and I needed to
Yeah.
have my life planned out and I just didn't realize that that was normal for people my age to be stressed about that and so I felt really alone and I did end up going to 1 year of college because that's the only option that I knew. That's just, I felt like I felt like society was telling me if you want to be a good person, you need to get a major and go to college and get a job so that you can take care of yourself. And I just didn't know there were any other options. And so I just struggled with that for a while because I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, yeah, and that, I don't know, can anybody else relate to that on this call, like being that young person where everybody's asking you like, what are you gonna do next? What's your next step? And you're like, I don't know.
Just make something up so you have an answer.
I guess I better go to college and choose a major, get a
Yeah.
degree
Yeah.
that may or may not serve me. Okay. So both of you are here, and William, you saw a need in society because you experienced that need.
Yeah.
Rebecca, you also saw a need like, where was Georgic Schoolroom when I was 18, right?
Exactly.
And I've felt that need. And so we're all here today to be able to say, okay, we're not going to bash on college. Well, we probably will actually, because it costs a lot of money and you leave with debt and you have a piece of paper that may or may not serve you in the end. So we'll just bash on it a little bit.
Let me interject. For some people, college is the perfect path.
Absolutely.
The real problem is that almost everybody is forced to go to college, even the people who there's a different path for them because they don't know that path exists.
I agree with that. One of the soil principles William teaches is context, and that applies to our whole life.
Yeah.
And I think that applies to college too. I mean, your wife, Vernie, she loves her experience at college.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had a different experience where it wasn't really good for me. And it was because she had something that she wanted to learn from it.
Yeah.
And I just was going because I thought I was supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Well said, what she said. So if you, if you're gonna be a doctor, by all means, go to medical school. I do. You're going to college to figure out what you want to be when you grow up. Maybe it'll help, maybe not. So when we say we're gonna beat up on it, we'll do it nicely, and certainly don't disparage anybody from getting a degree. But we see that there's a challenge in society where people go and they spend a lot of money, get a degree, and are unhappy in life. So William, the Georgic Schoolroom has been something, well, first of all, the Georgic Schoolroom is what you call your program, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So when we use that term, that's what we're referring to. And your program is, just to be able to set the stage, your program is what, and then we'll dive into more of what, building that out. So this is off script, but what is the Georgic Schoolroom? 17 weeks on the ranch.
Yeah. So the Georgic Schoolroom, it's the class I put together that fills this need that I've seen in the world. Students come here. It's an adult class. Usually it's been younger people who are coming, college-aged people. We've had some college graduates come. They've liked the program. But you come here, you live on site here on the ranch. You do chores on the ranch every morning. You work with some livestock. We assign people a garden. Each student gets their own garden that's 15 feet wide and 50 feet long. And you grow your own garden there, and you do that pretty much by yourself, except I help you, I mentor you, but you do most of the work. And then the last 3 weeks of the course, that's what you eat, is what grows in the garden. One person said, don't tell people that, you won't get anybody to sign up. But Becca was a student the second year, You survived, right?
I did. When I first came, I was terrified actually about growing a garden and eating out of it completely, but it turned out really good. I mean, William is here to mentor you the whole time and help you know how to do it. So it works out.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
So that is the Georgic Schoolroom. And tell us about some of the, well, you mentioned one of the students that came through this last year. And tell us about her experience and what she gained and what she was able to do because of her experience here.
Okay, yeah. So, every student here has a pretty incredible story. But as we were planning this, we just thought, let's tell the story of our one friend. I'm not going to say her name because we didn't ask her before this, but she wanted to start a school at some point in her future, maybe 10 years out. And that was her thing. In the Georgic Schoolroom, we choose something we don't like about the world, and then we try to use our own gifts and talents to fix it. That's part of the curriculum. And she said, I want to start a school that is based on things that are actually really valuable. And so she was going through the class, and she had a couple of years, the last years of her school was homeschooled, but she really wasn't involved that much in homeschooling communities. So she didn't know that there were charter schools and Montessori schools and all kinds of homeschool co-ops and all these groups. And so she was just kind of making up what she thought her perfect school would be. And she told me all her ideas, and I was saying, oh yeah, that's really great. And so I started making her aware of all of these different schools that are out there. And then she went and she would do research. Then she'd come back the next day feeling somewhat depressed. Everything I want to do already exists. And she was frustrated with that. I said, no, this is good. It already exists, which means you'll have a lot easier time building your business. She said, no, but they already did my ideas. I said, yeah. And by the time in like 10 years from now, when you have a bunch of little kids and all of your friends have kids, they're going to want their kids to go to your school. And so we would build her back up, and then she'd go do more research. She'd come back in a couple of days depressed again. So it was pretty funny. And this went on pretty much the whole summer. But she did a lot of research, and she learned, and we helped her through the process. And about the time the Georgic Schoolroom was coming to a close, she came in one day and she was so excited. She said, I got an apprenticeship in Missouri in this school, and they're doing pretty much exactly what I want to do. It's a school on a farm, and the students work with chickens and pigs and all this stuff, and they grow gardens and they're planting orchards, and I get to go there this fall. And she did. She went there and she enjoyed that experience. And then right as I think it was maybe graduation week for our program, she came in and one day, and she was all excited a second time. And she said, you will never believe it. I got a job, and I can live at home in my room where my parents are. She's like 21 years old, right? She had served a mission for the church, and then she had come here so she could go back home and do this, live at home and work this job. She said, this is my dream job. So when my apprenticeship is over in Missouri, I can go right into this job, and I'm going to work all winter, and it is perfect because I'm going to have the toddler class on this 40-acre farm. It's a Montessori school, and it worked out perfectly for her. And then she called me about 3 weeks ago. She said, I'm so excited because the apprenticeship program in Missouri, they hired me full-time for next summer. And we talked all about that. So it looks like her life is falling into place the way she wanted it. And that's really inspiring to me because as part of our Georgic Schoolroom, there's an assignment we do where we write our 10-year vision. And so we just sit down and we write out, what does your life look like in 10 years? And it was interesting because the way that she wrote that, she would need to have a lot of experiences in different educational places, and it's happening to her. So that was super exciting. And all of our students have cool experiences like this, but we only have time to share one today.
Yeah, but you mentioned that on your website, which is?
Yeah, www.georgicrevolution.com.
Okay. Somebody can probably type that in the chat. Share that. Georgic. It's spelled just, yeah, georgicrevolution.com. Anyway,
Yeah.
look for on there. Is it on there or is it on your YouTube channel where they'll find this the speeches.
Yeah, the graduation speeches are on my YouTube channel. So if you just go to YouTube and then you just search gardening with William DeMille, comes right up. Or just, you don't even need to go to YouTube. If you just go to a Google search, gardening with William DeMille, and then the YouTube channel pops up, and then you can look at the graduation for 2024. And all the speeches are on there for all 12 students who were here last year, talking about the things that they're going to go do to make the world a better place.
Yeah, it was pretty inspiring to see. Not pretty doesn't do a good job. It was
It was inspiring.
It was.
It was.
It was exceedingly inspiring, I should say, to hear the experiences of these students and what they gained in the few short weeks, months that they were here. So encourage you to go and check that out. So one of the questions, Williams, with everything, there's a monetary cost and reward, and think, part of that is like, hey, I come here, what can I actually do with that? How much is this going to cost? What could I be doing? The opportunity cost of my time. Maybe I should go get a job in the summer. Maybe I should go to another semester of college. And you've got another story that kind of illustrates from your own life of how sometimes those decisions are real and they're hard when we feel like, okay, this thing that I need doesn't make logical sense to me, but I'm just going to do it and trust that it's going to work out.
Yeah, it's true. I can just share a story of when I wanted to go to the Cornell course and learn what we learned there. Let me just address something else really quick though, and then I'll go into that story. But you're talking about what is the opportunity cost? What could I be doing?
Yeah.
Here's what I've noticed has happened with my students who have come here. They get really clear on what it is they want out of life so that they can go home and live their mission or their life purpose, or however you want to say that. And, every student, every human, we're all on different levels, but they've all left here being pretty clear of, okay, this is the direction I'm going to go in. Like the girl we just shared the story of, she went right into her, right into a school.
Yeah.
Other people are going into other things, but it does take some work, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it can be hard. So here's my story. I was living in Oregon pretty much on the ocean. We were in Portland, so not quite on the ocean, and I needed some education about hydroponics and aquaculture for the farm that I was running there. We were wanting to raise fish. We were wanting to raise vegetables, and I had learned a lot about it. But there was this fantastic course put on by Cornell University, and I thought, and the course was a week long. It was going to take us 2 weeks away from the farm to go out there. When I was running a farm, we had 600 members, 60 full-time members who would come and get food every week, but with a total membership of 600 people who would get stuff from us. I had employees. I had a 20-acre garden. I was milking 40 cows. I had 3 acres under greenhouse, something in that ballpark. And every day I would get 3 or 4 questions from employees. And their question would go like this: something fell completely apart. What do we do? And I was the guy that had to fix it. And so here I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. And of course, that's my fault as an employer. I hadn't trained everybody right, but we were new. It takes years to train people to know what you know. So, but yet I needed this higher education. So I did the best I could for a few weeks, and I left. I had 4 kids. I took my wife with me. We all piled in a minivan and we drove across the country. People say, why didn't you just fly? Well, because my kids' grandparents lived in Minnesota. We could drop them off. They could spend a week with them while we were gone. It made sense to drive. And we wanted to see the country, so there were reasons, but we left. It was insane for me to leave that farm with all that responsibility. But we went out to Cornell. We took the class. It was expensive too. Like me and my wife, we both bought the class. So it was I think it was $7,000 for both of us. I didn't have that kind of money. but we bought it because we needed the education. We went through the class, we met some really great people, and that was a long time ago now. Or like it was way over a decade ago. And I was just thinking the other day that I have thought about things I've learned in that class at least once a week for the last 10 years since we took it, maybe every day. It's a stretch to say I've thought of something every day, but at least once a week. It was that good of a course. And it was, I don't know that it was life-changing, but it gave me skills. It gave me opportunities. It gave me a lot that I use all the time. So in that way, it was life-changing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good story. I appreciate that, William. I think each of us is going to have that moment when we feel like I need to do this. I'm scared to do it. I don't want to do it. But there's maybe it's our spirit saying, yes, do it. Your body's like, hold back. No, don't do it. And we have to kind of break through those fears and that terror barrier and say, no, this is what is right for me. This is my next step. Even if it doesn't make sense to anybody else, I'm going to go forward and do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. I just wonder if did you ever experience that, Becca, where you had to, I mean, did it make logical sense to come to Nevada?
I mean, I was already living in a tiny town in the middle of nowhere. So to go to another tiny town in the middle of nowhere, I was like, man.
Is that because you would have rather gone to somewhere where there was a population so you could have friends?
A little bit, yeah. But I found amazing friends on the farm here out in the summer. It was really amazing. But I don't know, just thinking about whether or not to make the decision to do something like that where you really want. I was thinking of when I was preparing to come out here, I had decided that I really wanted to come. And the problem was I was living in this little town and the highest paying job I could get was $8.25 an hour. And I just went, I am not doing that. So I planned it all out because I really wanted to come, but I needed to figure out the finances. So I decided that I was going to move. So I moved to and lived with some friends in the Provo area and was trying to find a job. And I ended up getting this job with a family and teaching homeschool to their kids, and it was really cool. But I just spent a few months making money so that I could come. And I don't know, it was doable. I mean, I made the price for the class. I mean, it's a little bit pricey, but I was able to do it because I just planned for it and got a job and was able to work it out. So
yeah. And I think that's really a principle there that when we decide, like the way opens up. When we know, hey, I'm committed, I'm going to do this, and like, okay, the universe gets behind us, other people can get behind us. So
yeah.
Last year there was a girl who wanted to come, and her dad, when he saw the price, he freaked out a little bit. He was like, I am not paying for that. And she had been planning for a year to come. She really wanted to come.
Yeah.
And something must have worked out between them because she came and he paid for it. But it was really cool to see him at graduation because he came up to William and he said, that was amazing. Thank you so much for having this class.
yeah.
So it was just really cool to see the parents' reactions. Like, William, what were some of the things that they said at graduation?
Yeah, that guy was awesome. He was like, every youth needs to take this class. Like the whole issue of the price from like 6 months before when he had the issue,
non-issue.
it was a non-issue. Like he stood like go to YouTube and watch these guys give their speeches, and he was at that meeting. And after he saw those guys get up, he said, man, the world would be totally different. Things would change. This is what the world needs. I mean, he went on and on with all these really great compliments. I mean, obviously I was highly complimented, but just thinking about it, like if we could actually just show people the value of what they're actually getting, they would understand how cheap it actually is when you start looking at the costs of the world of not coming to the class.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what the parents' reaction to me, that's how I felt about it, which is pretty
Yeah.
neat.
the benefit way exceeded the cost
Oh, yeah.
in the end.
Yeah.
Once they saw, hey, this is the transformation. I dropped off this kid a couple months ago. They're not the same kid that's loading up in the car to go home with me.
Yeah.
There
We've
was-
seen that a lot. Yeah.
And that is pretty, that is pretty awesome. And even though I'm not involved with the day-to-day with the Georgic Schoolroom, uh, they help with some of the projects that we do on the ranch. I get to interact with them pretty much on a daily basis, say hi to them and things. And that's what I saw as well, was that there was a transformation and a breakthrough for each of them at some point during that, when I mean they started to believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
What if we could have done that when we were that age?
I needed that so bad in my 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why my business has failed. During my late 20s into my early 40s, that's when these business failures happened. For my life, I needed this class.
And so just drill down just for a second on that. What is it that this class would give a young person that maybe you and I didn't have? When you say I needed that, what is that you needed?
I needed to know who I was.
Yeah.
I needed is just some real basic self-validation that my skills and talents and interests and passions are valuable in this world. And that just because I hit a roadblock in trying to do something, it doesn't mean I'm not valuable. But I associated my business failure with me failing as a person. I thought I am a failure.
Yeah.
And that is false. And so that's the main thing that we teach these kids when they're here. We say, you're going to fail a million times in life at a
And
million
good.
things. Absolutely. And good.
Yeah.
Because that's
How you gonna learn?
yeah, that's the best learning experience there is. And you are not a failure.
Yeah.
You are fantastic, but you need to figure out that you're fantastic. And we have things that we do in the class that helps people understand who they are, and we learn about ourselves.
Yeah.
And so that's why we learn that we're actually worth something. So
Yeah, thanks for that. Back to you. I don't know what it actually was that got you here, but I think what I've seen from the outside looking in is people come here to learn maybe the gardening skills, the self-reliance skills. Their parents encourage them to come, but they leave having gained that identity of who they really are. And so you were a young person in college, or went to college because you're like, what else am I going to do? And then
Yeah.
probably a few things happened between then and when you got here, but what kind of fill in give us the rest of the story there.
Yeah. I feel like when I came, that pressure that I felt to figure out what my life was about and do it right now, that was completely lifted, because at the Georgic Schoolroom, there wasn't the pressure of you're getting job training to get a job so that you can, make money and have a life. It was about mission and purpose. And so I felt like I totally had permission to be myself. And I honestly feel like what I needed when I was going through that transition, something that I needed when I was going through that transition of being a teenager to being an adult and figuring out what I was going to do with my life, was somebody to help me to figure out how to figure out what I was going to do. Because that's what I was stressed about and didn't know how to do. And I feel like this class gave me skills to navigate that.
Yeah. How valuable is that for you?
I don't know how to put a value on it because it was like perfect. It was just so good. I mean, one of the main reasons I came was because I wanted to learn how to work with the soil and make a really good garden, because my family was struggling with the garden. And I also wanted to discover my mission and my purpose. And I was just thinking, oh, I can go and see if I love gardening, if this is part of what I'm supposed to do. And so I thought I was coming to a gardening class, and I got so much more out of it than that, because it was the personal journey of finding me and going into my personal gifts and talents and interests. And I just love the idea that those are the things that inform what I can do with my life that I'm going to love, that I can also make money at to make a living and to help the world at the same time.
Yeah.
It's something that's so needed for young people because they don't know how to figure that out.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question, is like, you know, a lot of times you walk away from an experience and you're like, oh, this was great, it was life-changing, but how do I actually apply it and how do I monetize it? But what you're saying is when you gain clarity on what your mission is, then the money is actually a byproduct of that instead of being like a major focus. Like you go and you do, maybe just share your experience, you know, that you just had recently of how that came to fruition for you.
Yeah. So I just want to say a little bit about what the first year of the Georgic Schoolroom is about, is learning that the impossible is possible, because you are learning soil health principles and you're learning how to take a desert and turn it into a grassland. And through the process of the summer, like for me, I started to learn that that was possible in my life, that the impossible is possible.
Huh.
And which was a really big deal. And in the second year, you take the societal need that you identified and you write a business plan. And that's what I did in the second year class with some of the other students. We were reading books and discussing them to help us with what we were doing, and we were writing our business plans. And so I took my interest in medicinal plants, and I thought, I was like, well, maybe I could do something with this, because I'm in awe of nature. I think it is so cool that you can go outside and pick a flower and it can help me with a problem that I'm having that's keeping me from my life. That is really cool. And there's a problem in society. If you have a body, you're going to have problems sometimes. And it really is a bummer when you have pain. It keeps you from doing things that you want to do and from giving the way that you can. And so that's really close to my heart. And I thought, you know what if I teach a class and just make it easy for people? Because when I first started to learn about herbal medicine, it was kind of confusing because there's just so much information. And so I created the class that I wanted when I was beginning.
Cool.
Yeah. And I put a spin on it. It's an herbal candy class. So another thing that I see is that often herbs don't taste good. Like if you try to give them to a kid or, your wife who has a sweet tooth, they can, yeah, they can be yucky. And so I just thought, you know what, herbs can taste good. And so in my class, I have recipes and people taste test the candies that I made that just make it so that people can eat them easy. Like I make gummies, like gummy bears, and put the herbal remedy in it, and it's just delicious to eat, and it's your medicine. So how's that?
So you recognize, okay, there's a need. I have a desire and a passion. You combined that and made money on it, right?
Yes.
I mean, you taught a class, you sold at the class, people paid you to come to the class.
Yes.
And so how cool is that, right? So there's evidence. When people say, oh, it's not possible, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Talk to her.
It works. And I have to say that before coming to the Georgic Schoolroom, I had the idea of creating a business had been in my mind, and it felt completely impossible to me. I was totally scared. I was like, I'm just not going to do that part. But the Georgic Schoolroom made all the difference for me in actually starting a business, because of the atmosphere of I could just totally be myself, and I could make mistakes, and I could just be me. And I mean, it felt really good. Yeah. And I also had the other thing that made the really big difference is that I had a mentor to help me. And
Mhm.
because when you go to college, that professor
you're
doesn't
just a
have
number.
time for every student.
Yeah.
And that's just not the same here. The mentors have time for each student for what they need. And that is why I was able to start my business.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good point, Becca, because we limit the number of students to 20 so that everybody gets the individual help that they need so that they can find their own pathway.
Yeah. So thank you, Becca. That was perfect. I love that story and the way that you illustrated your journey, because I think it represents each of our journey and mirrors it in so many ways. So William, kind of walk through what the experience is, and then we'll come back to you, Becca. But I mean, I think we're right here talking about, right? Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
We've got our script here, so we don't get off.
Yeah,
We don't have fancy teleprompters. We're just-
Becca was just sharing like kind of the one first and second years. Let me just go into that a little bit. So call it. But the first year, everybody comes and does the first year. And there's a couple of things that people learn in their first year. They focus on who they are. They focus on some personal development. They focus on the self-discovery of who am I. They focus on homesteading skills. And the reason we do homesteading skills, so that's like the gardening and you're feeding chickens and you'll probably have the opportunity to milk a cow once in a while, that type of thing. The reason we focus on that is because it gets you in a different environment than most people are interested in. And that opens up the creativity pathways in our brains. So, and that's just simple psychology. And so that's why we do that. But if you want to go home and grow all your own food, you can gain that amount of skill while you're here because I can teach you how to do that.
Mhm.
A lot of people have said, oh, well, I'd come, except I don't want to be a gardener or a farmer. I'm not really training people to be gardeners or farmers, but you could learn that if you came. It's more about the personal development. And then we talk about ecological literacy. And that's where the thing that Becca talked about comes in. If you understand the ecology of the earth, then you understand how to do the impossible. And then people like Becca and a lot of our other students who think, well, I'm never going to worry about a business. I'm just going to marry a rich husband and then I'll have money. Well, what if you need money now and you haven't got married yet, you know? And so that I'm teasing Becca over this because sorry, Becca. And so, but she realized, you know what, the impossible can be done. And she totally took that to heart and thought, well, I can do the impossible and I can learn how to earn money. And now she's loving her own business because she's doing the thing she was born to do. And so that's the ecological literacy part. Yeah, you will learn how to read the ecology, but it's more about ourselves because we can do the impossible with our own person. And then the last thing is we identify a society in the, a need in our modern society that we don't like, something that we can serve with our own skill set, our own gifts and talents. And let me say that really simply. We figure out how to help someone. And that's it. And then we go out and help someone. And that's what Becca's doing with her business. So she's helping people because she got the skills to do it. And she's doing what she loves because she knows who she is. And so it has worked out. And it's happening with the other girl that we told the story of who wants to start a school someday. It's happening with most of our students. So it's really awesome. Just to see the transformation. You know, I sat there during the graduation as those guys stood up. I mean, we practiced the speeches quite a few times, but during graduation, and they just stood up one at a time and they talked about really deep and really important things. I was in tears almost the whole time.
Yeah.
Because I was shocked that this works so well. And it wasn't me that did it. I'm not taking the credit for that. It's them that did it. We just created an environment where people can blossom. And that's what the Georgic Schoolroom has ended up being.
Love it.
So
Yeah, that is really, really cool. And again, my witness that absolutely I saw that as well. And I remember when your first students graduated, the brother and sister Tim and Jess, will say their names.
Yeah.
We'll protect the innocent and tell their names. They when they gave their speeches, I made the comment to my wife, what they've learned here is at least worth a college degree. I would say at least an associate's, probably a bachelor's degree. And they learned it in such a short time. But to be able to have the depth of knowledge that they did, but the breadth of knowledge to be able to see things in society and not that myopic view that sometimes we get when we're just studying one thing in college. To me, yeah, I don't know how you quantify that, but that was what I thought was like, if you're going to go to college, do this in conjunction. If you're not going to go to college, absolutely do this. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Jared. That's good. Yeah.
Any questions here before we transition to the logistics and things? Questions from the audience? You can type them in the chat and Katie will look at them and tell us if you guys have any questions up to this point. We appreciate those that are on here and your participation. As we talk through what this looks like, I know some of you are already registered and coming. What we can do is to be able to share what we've learned, because that's how a movement gets started, right? If we see that, okay, yeah, we've got a handful of kids that have come through here, and there's a lot more that need it. At some point, you're going to see a greater societal need, William, and you're going to have to scale it to meet the demand. Right now, we're working on the demand side, and so that's part of being part of this group. Was there a question in the chat, McKady? Okay, so we'll roll into the next part. What are the logistics? What are the things when they show up here? First of all, we should tell them where we're at.
Yeah.
Because they think Nevada in the middle of nowhere, and it kind of is, but we got a paved road. The school bus drives right in front of our house, so it's, you know,
Yeah.
we're in civilization. Obviously, we have internet. We're not going to be on the other side of the world in Africa or something. But
Yeah. So we do live on a paved road. It is the summertime, so you won't get snowed in. I live here year round. One winter we were snowed in about 13 times. I liked that, but that is not an issue for the Georgic Schoolroom because of the time of year when it is. So you come here to the class, you do live on site. We provide housing. There is one house for the girls. There's another house for the boys. So you're not living together in the same house. We get a lot of younger single people, single adults. So that's the arrangement that we have. We do have indoor plumbing. You can take a shower every day. So just simple things like that. We have laundry facilities. You can do your laundry anytime. So you're not going to a camp like some things are a camp where it's very different than normal life. This isn't that different. We have a kitchen in common where we make meals and we eat together. We have chores that students do. We kind of divide up groups of people to do different chores in the mornings before class. And one of the chores is to help cook the food for everybody that day. And then everybody rotates through those chores. So there's kitchen duty, there's taking care of livestock, there's taking care of the greenhouse, there's the different kinds of chores that we do. And every year I've changed those a little bit. So I don't want to tell you right now exactly how that is, because I might actually change it before next year, before this coming summer. But we are 16 miles south of a little town called Wells, Nevada. And Wells is right on Interstate 80. And we are a 3-hour drive from the Salt Lake City area, so northern Nevada. and about a 2.5 hour drive from the Twin Falls, Idaho area. So we have a packing list, and when you sign up, I will send that to you. I'll email you the list of things to bring, because your closest Costco or like Sam's Club, a place where people buy a lot of stuff, would be in Salt Lake City or Twin Falls, which are hours away. There are a couple of grocery stores that are a little bit closer, but people are used to shopping at those bigger stores. You want to get everything you need before you come.
Cool. Yeah.
What did I miss?
So nope, I think that's good unless there's any questions. So it is remote, but it's very civilized. One of the questions I would have is, as a parent, and I was gonna send my kids there. If they're not familiar with farmer or ranch, are they gonna be safe? Like,
Oh, yeah.
are they gonna get run over by a cow?
Yeah.
Are they gonna get hit by a tractor? Are they gonna have to operate big equipment?
Yeah, so nobody's operating big equipment. Nobody's going to operate a chainsaw. You're not going to use any tools that are really dangerous. About the only hand tools that these young adults would be using would be like a drill, like a screwdriver drill gun. But maybe not. You would never even do that.
Okay.
We have a lettuce spinner that we wash vegetables with. That's probably the most dangerous tool. Nobody got hurt in 3 years of doing this that I knew of. The most dangerous thing here is you might get stung by a bee or a wasp, but that could happen anywhere. That's not unique to us.
Yeah.
But we have an herbal teacher. Her name's Rebecca. She's right there. She teaches here at the Georgic Schoolroom. We did have some stings last year, and she knew right what to do, and she treated people, and the stings were gone. Most of the people she treated were your kids, Jared.
That is true.
The little kids running around. It's pretty safe. You know, the kids that live here in the community, I mean, they're outside playing all the time. It's a very safe place. Nobody's driving tractors really. I mean, I'll drive a tractor now and then, but the students don't.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of operating heavy machinery or anything like that.
Okay.
We don't really ride horses too much. We might, if Jared or Selena invite you to ride a horse, you could do that, but that's not really part of the program. So it's not something that is a huge liability, scary thing where people are going to get hurt by a wild animal.
Mhm.
What I meant by wild animal was a horse or a cow. But yeah, there are wild animals here. If you love wildlife, we have all kinds of wildlife. There's lots of deer and hawks and owls, and there's the big cranes. The sandhill cranes are here. We have skunks and pack rats and mice. There's all kinds of wildlife
animal.
up on the mountain. The mountains are just right behind us here. It goes up to 10,000 feet. It kind of looks like the Wasatch Range or the Uinta Range in Utah. Big, beautiful mountains. They're covered with snow most of the summer. By August, most of the snow is gone. But when students get here, it's a beautiful place. People get here and think, this is gorgeous. I thought I was going to Nevada. You know, they make that joke, but it's true because people don't get it. They think it's all going to be sagebrush. But it's a very scenic, beautiful place. On the mountains, some of the locals have said they've seen the black bears up there. Occasionally, ranchers will see porcupines and mountain lions.
Mhm.
Anyway, there's antelope out here. You'll probably see an antelope while you're here out on the flats.
Yeah.
So it's a wild, beautiful, beautiful place to spend the summer.
Yep. Cool. That's good. So now you kind of got an idea for where we're located and the experience of living here. A lot of people are wondering, you know, they got to pay something for this, right? What's the cost?
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
the cost of it, William?
Yeah, the cost is $5,600 for the course. That includes the class, the mentoring, housing, and food. And when I tell a lot of people that, they're like, how can you afford to do it for that cheap? And I'm glad when I get that
Yeah.
that response. And there's a couple of reasons that we price it that way. First of all, I don't want my students to go away in debt. And it's a good enough price that a young person like Becca shared, you can work for 5 or 6 months before you get here, and then you can pay for it. So
Yeah. Yep. So $5,600 and kind of an all-inclusive. Yes, there's work required and things, but a lot cheaper than some all-inclusive vacation places, and
Yeah.
I mean, why not just come on vacation?
Yeah, I mean, I was on the internet just 2 days ago looking at other courses, and Jeff Lawton, he's an Englishman, but he lives in Australia, and he's a world-renowned permaculture guy. And his course is 2 weeks long. It's actually 10 days, and he charges $3,000 for the 10 days.
Mhm.
And you're going to learn permaculture design there, but I mean,
What are the things that they learn? The specific things, tactical principles that they're gonna learn here.
Yeah, so we, compared to that Jeff Lawton course, he's teaching you permaculture design, and it's a fantastic course, don't get me wrong. But here in this course for 4 months, we're going to be learning permaculture, silvopasture, biodynamics, soil health, regenerative agriculture, holistic management, Georgic's ecological agriculture. The list goes on and on. And all of these things create a person who is ecologically literate by the time you're done, because you bring in all of those things, and all of those things are fantastic. So, but that's when we're talking about a price comparison,
Yeah,
I should be charging a lot more.
and probably at some point will be, but for now, for this year, that's what the price is.
Yeah,
The space is limited.
Yeah.
To 20 students, and you got some enrolled already, so
Yeah.
I think you've got room for 16 more.
yeah, somewhere around
Somewhere in
there. Yeah.
maybe less than that. So, there's time to get in. We encourage you to carefully consider it. Why don't you share, you got a testimonial from one of the moms, but Becca, share yours. Yeah. Question. Oh, very good question. What ages would you suggest?
Okay, so this is an adult class, so 18 and up is that's who it's built for. I have had students who turn 18 during the course, and I've been okay with that so far. So yeah, pretty much college age kids. But I have a guy who's interested, and he's retiring. He's going to be 62, I think, next year, and I think he wants to come. So this is a class for adults, is who it's for. The people who I've had so far the first 3 years have been young adult, college age students.
Very cool. Yeah. So share your testimonial, which you kind of been doing the whole time, right? But specifically, like, to somebody who was saying, is this right for me? Should I do something else? What, if they're in that decision phase, what would you tell them, Becca?
Oh, I would tell him to come. For me, it was really life-changing for me to come, because like I can't tell you how much it means to me that I could go somewhere and just like, it was a very non-judgmental atmosphere, and it was very like, there's just the freedom to be yourself, and that meant a lot to me, because as young people there's just a lot of pressure to be something, and here the message is, be you. Who is that? Let's discover that person. So if that's something that you feel like you need, this is the place for you.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And then our friend Tiffany shared. Do you want me to read it, or you want to read it?
Why don't you read that, Jared?
Okay, I'll read this. So from Tiffany, let's see, her son was how old when you?
He turned 19 during the summer.
Yeah, he was
Pretty
18,
sure.
turned 19,
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
So she said, I thought the Georgic Schoolroom was all about training Georgics who could raise food. I was wrong. William's actual crop is souls, including the soul of my son. He found confidence and responsibility. He found connection. He found stillness, and he left with the passion to live his mission. So big round of applause for Tiffany and for her son, who was able to come and join in the class this last year. And yeah, I remember him, and he's gone on and is what did you say he's doing now? He's
building a business with his parents.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember his speech was like pretty clear direction. This where I'm going. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, he's an athlete, and he took, I don't remember, was it second or third place in his sport in the nation?
Yeah.
And he was here all summer doing his thing. He was running along the tops of the wooden fences, and his sport is Ninja Warrior, and he's hoping to go to the Olympics. That's his dream.
Huh. Yeah. Very cool. So what is the next, what do they need to do? They're like, yes, this is for me, or I'm going to go talk to somebody and we want to sign them up. What's the step to take, William?
Okay, here's the next step. I want you to text me, like right now, to see if this is a good fit for you. It's better if you talk to me first and we have a conversation, because I don't want you to come if this isn't going to help you. But if you think that this sounds like something that would help you, send me a text. You can send it right now. My number is 435-233-6126. I've got my phone right here in my pocket. Text me and we can set up a time when we can have a discussion and we can talk. We can have a 15-20 minute conversation, or an hour, or whatever it takes, to see if this is going to be a good fit for you. You can ask all your questions, and I can share with you like what we're doing here, and we can go into the specifics of what we do in this class to see if this is actually going to help you with what you need. You know, I've had people in the past who we talked to, and I thought, you know what, you may be better off doing this other thing. You may be better off coming in 2 years from now because of where you are in your life. I had a talk with a girl just this week, and I told her, I said, maybe you come here in 2 weeks. You may be better doing that.
Mhm.
You know, I said weeks, 2 years from now. And so I'm not going to just sign everybody up unless I think it's a great fit for you. And then I will say, you know what, I think we can actually help you with your goals.
So it's a bit of an application process then,
Yeah.
but you're holding their hand, you're mentoring them, I should say.
Yeah,
and
for
helping
sure.
them to see, is this right? What questions do you have? What are the outcomes that you hope to get from this? And if it's a right fit, then yes, absolutely take the steps and sign up.
Yeah.
So, cool. That sounds really good. You also had a bonus?
Yeah. So for everybody that's on here live today, I have a bonus. If you, the person who texts me the first text I get, I'm going to give you 30 minutes of my time, which is worth $250. And you can ask me anything about permaculture, silvopasture, biodynamics, soil health, regenerative agriculture, gardening, farming, all that stuff.
He might even bonus in if you want to ask him about your life mission too. Because that's really what
We'll talk about that too. That's a given.
William came here to grow our food. I think he really came here to mentor my kids.
Thanks, Jared.
Yeah, right, McKady? How many times have you asked Uncle Will what to do? And not only McKady, but the other kids as well. So yeah, real depth of knowledge there. We'll just open it up. Are there any questions, or do you feel like there's anything that we missed that we'd like to say so it gets on the recording? I know you that are here live, feel free to ask, but maybe we skimmed over something.
Yeah. And while you're thinking of your question and getting ready to type it in the chat, for those of you on the recording, go ahead and text me. My phone will work next week and the week after that too. So just because you weren't on here live doesn't mean you can't text me, and we can talk and see if this is a good fit for you.
Yep. And I would just add, if it's not you, there's probably very likely there's somebody in your circle of influence that you could say, hey, connect to them with William, and feel free to share that number. Share his website, the Georgic Revolution, so they can get some more context about what it is. Share this recording with them. We'll put it up on YouTube here when we get done. William can share it and I can share it for those who've registered, and probably put it out on social media. If you find it that way, you can certainly, text William and get more information.
Yeah.
So, question, anything from the chat right now? So I just thought of a question. I can't remember. You got anything? Oh yeah, it was, you've kind of covered this, but maybe just reiterate who this is really for, who is going to be the best served from the people that you have already gone through the class, and maybe both of you can answer this. Yeah, in marketing terms, they call it your avatar, but you know, that person where it's just like, man, I know that I can help them, and I know that they will gain so much from this. So,
I would say that this class is really good for young people who are in that phase of figuring out what to do with your life and you're not sure what direction you want to go. This is a really good place for you.
okay.
Yeah, I had a student last year and I said, when graduation is over, you probably need to go to college, get back in school, finish your degree, because you are on a path in your life already where finishing your degree is going to be a fantastic thing for you and the things that you want to do to reach your goals. There's other students who thought they were supposed to go to college, kind of like Becca's story. And my advice to them was, if you built a business doing the thing that you want to do, there's all kinds of people out there who need your gifts and talents. You could probably make pretty good money. You know, I think you could make a good $60,000-$70,000 a year doing the thing that you love. And that's not a bad wage for a single person, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah,
So,
and what skills you need, you will learn along the way, rather than just going to college and getting dumped on with a bunch of things that are good. Some things maybe may not be relevant to your context and your mission.
yeah.
I would totally agree with that and encourage that as well, like the entrepreneurship pathway, which this is a big part of it. You see a societal need, you build a business around it, you monetize that. You're gonna fail. You're gonna come up against, like, I don't know how to run a business. I don't know how to create a cash flow budget. I don't know how to apply for a loan. I don't know how to be a leader. You learn those skills, but they're meaningful to you because you're learning them and you're applying them right now. Versus someday,
Yeah.
maybe I'll need to learn that. By the time that someday comes, you've forgotten half of it.
Yeah.
And you're still gonna have to go through and learn it.
Yeah.
So,
You still have to find the mentor to help you.
yeah.
And that's what we do at the Georgic Schoolroom, is to help people understand what a mentor is and the value of that. Yeah.
Very cool. Yep. Okay. So question is, let's see, the website mentions that there is an online version for these for those who can't travel to be in person. Does that also cost the $5,600? Very good question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. The answer to the online class, that's something I'm building right now. It's not yet available. It should be available this spring. I'm trying to get it done. That class has a slightly different focus. The things that we talked about today of becoming, you probably want the on-site class for that. The online version is more of the homesteading skills and the ecological literacy for a person who is running a farm or trying to do land reclamation or trying to say you buy a piece of land super cheap because it was contaminated with some kind of a toxin. Well, there's ways that we can clean up land like that using natural methods. And so those are the types of things that class, it's more geared to people who own a piece of land, somebody who wants to grow their own food.
Or a person trying to have a fantastic garden
Yeah.
in their backyard. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yes, the cost part. I haven't come up with the price for that yet, but I think it's going to be cheaper because we don't have to feed you and house you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And it is an extensive course, the online course. There's a lot to it. We'll probably do another webinar about that when it rolls out and it's actually available. Well, good question. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, very cool. All right. Well, I think we pretty well covered it. So again, text William, phone number. You want to drop that in the chat again, Katie? The phone number, and do you want to say it again just for the recording? Just so it's on there?
Yeah. 435-233-6126.
And so for now, that is the way to be able to get into the class, is just text William and give a little bit of context. Say, I'm interested in the class. Here's my name. Here's my, obviously you'll have the contact information. So I guess that's about all they need, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then you'll either do a Zoom or a phone call and work out the details. Hey, is this right for you? Answer any additional questions. There is a deposit due, right? Before the class, and then paid in full when they arrive, or before they arrive.
Yeah, there's actually a payment option too, and we'll send you all that information when people sign up. So I just divided into 4 because it's 4-month class. So you would pay at the first of each month if you need a payment option.
Very cool. Awesome. All right. Well, I think we covered it. Thanks everybody for jumping on here. We appreciate you being. We encourage you to share this information with others within your circle. Our goal is 20 students here. That's kind of a critical mass, right? Revolution never starts with the majority. Georgic revolution.
That's right. That's right.
What in the heck does Georgic mean anyway?
Georgic, geo means earth, oric means work. So to work the earth, and the ancient Greeks believed that to become a good citizen in a community, you had to be involved with the natural world. So that's why I called it Georgic.
Cool. Yeah. Probably should have addressed that at first. We're talking about this word that maybe nobody else knows. But
Well, we got around to it.
we got around to it. I didn't know till I met William and his family either. So, okay, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jared.